Yep. Good morning, everyone. So yesterday we learned about few selectors, some important CSS selectors we discussed. In the selectors, we learned about type selectors. We learned about rational selectors. We discussed about how do we use dynamic pseudo classes. We have another one, element state pseudo classes, validation state pseudo classes. Validation state pseudo classes. Some important selectors we discussed. Now, some more selectors you need to know. Today we will see the other selectors. The other selectors, we actually have structural pseudo classes. Structural pseudo classes are present. Structural pseudo classes are next. Actually, structural pseudo classes, they are used to apply effects based on hierarchy. Depending on the hierarchy where they are present, you can apply. Actually, structural pseudo classes we have like first child, like last child, like nth child. We have nth of type, nth last of type. These are important structural pseudo classes. First child, last child, nth of type, nth last of type. These are structural pseudo classes. So usually we are having some, generally their names tell what they are. Let's see here. Yeah. I am giving a simple list, ordered list. So list item, some item 1. Similarly, we have some items list here. So let's say 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like this. Some items we are having. Now I want to apply some effects to the list items. We want to display some effects to these list items. So generally, to apply effects to these list items, if I write li and I apply some color red, it is going to apply to all list items. I want only for first one. Then you can add a simple selector, first child. That's it. It will apply only to first. You want to apply only to last. Then instead of first child, you can apply as last. Only for last one it will apply. You want for fourth one, then you can just use nth child. Nth child requires number. Number is what? 4. Then it will apply only for fourth. You can, nth child can also use the words like odd. That means odd occurrences will apply. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. We can also use even. Even occurrences will apply 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. When you are designing tables, when you are designing nav bars, sometimes you see striped tables. Striped tables means one row, one color, another row, another color, even odd colors you can apply. That's very easy. We can use nth child. So you have first child. It's very simple. This refers to first child element. Nth child, last child refers to last child element. Nth child so refers to specific child element. So you can define even or odd. You can define even or odd. You can mention specific child element, or you can define even or odd. So that is nth child. Usually the appearance depending on parent and child. So when you are designing tables, lists and all, suppose you are accessing a row, you want for every row, you will write tr. You want only for first row, then you will apply a class first child. Last row, last child. Even rows, odd rows, then you can use nth child. You can apply. There is another technique. You have, instead of nth child, you can use nth of type. Nth of type. Nth of type I given as some 2 or 3. You can see nth of type 3, third or comes. Nth child also same, but nth of type advantage is you can mention 3n. 3n means every third occurrence. You see, every third occurrence it will be 3, 6, 9. Every second occurrence, every fifth occurrence you can apply. For that nth of type. But every third occurrence starting from where? Starting from 3. But I want to start from 1. Every third occurrence starting from 1. Then you can write 3n plus 1. This indicates every third occurrence starting from 1. Then you will see that is 1, 4, 7, 10 like. Every third occurrence, every fourth occurrence, your wish, you can define. So what is the nth of type? It sets, it access every nth occurrence starting from specific. It nth last of type access every nth occurrence start from bottom of list. That's what it can do. First one will start at the top of list. This one will get from bottom of list. So nth of type, nth last of type. Nth of type is from top, every second, every third, every fourth. Nth last of type means from bottom, every second, every third, every fourth, like that. So you can see here, these are, that is nth of type. I will give nth of type means observe every fourth occurrence starting from first, top. I will give nth last of type. Last of type 4n plus 1 from bottom. From bottom, every 4 occurrences it will apply. So nth of type is from top, nth last of type is from bottom. From bottom you can apply. So bottom, starting from bottom, starting from top, your wish. That you can configure by using nth of type and last of type. Syntactically, it will be like this. Some list item have nth child. You can use 3. Or you can use nth child. So you can give odd like this, odd or even. You can give nth of type, some 3n. You can give like nth of type 3n plus 1. This is every third occurrence. This is every third starting from top 1. Nth last of type 3n plus 1. This indicates every third occurrence starting from bottom 1. Every third starting from bottom 1. Last of type. So if you know so many selectors, then it is easy for applying effects, because many times we will face the problem of classes and IDs, because for every element giving an ID class is a difficult thing. Just if it is even one color, odd another color, it is in fourth place a different color, then it is easy to access using structural selectors. These are called structural pseudo classes. Next, you have, these are structural pseudo classes. Example I will give. Just rough example, I will copy this. These are all structural classes. Next, we have attribute selectors. Attribute selectors. Another important attribute selectors. So attribute selectors, what are the attribute selectors and why we need them? For example, there are various ways of accessing actually. Suppose we are designing a form something like this. So data list, data term, username, and we have a text box. Input type is text, and data term some password. So input type is equal to password. And we have some buttons. Input type is button and say value as login. I'm using HTML4 button. Input type as button and value as some cancel. Like this we have. Now I want to apply color for the buttons. Some background color for buttons. Then how to access them? We don't have any IDs. We don't have any ID, or we are not having any class. Then how do you access the buttons? ID classes not there. Then how do we access the button? If I write input background color as yellow, all inputs will be background yellow. But I want to apply only for button. Can I write button background color yellow? You cannot, because button is not element. Button is what? Type. And type is not element. Type is an attribute. So we want to apply for input whose type is button. Then you have to write like this. Input in the square brace, you have to give attribute type is equal to attribute value is what? Button. That means now only for button it will apply. That means many elements you cannot access by tag name because same tag is used for everybody. Suppose you are designing a form, almost all elements are done by using input. Then how you will access email, how you will access URL, how you will access a checkbox, because all are using the same tag input. Then we should access not by tag, you have to access by using attributes. Then you have to write like this. Actually, attribute selector, it allows to access by using attribute of element. By using attribute of element. So usually we write like this. Element, square brace, attribute. You can directly write like this. What this refers? It refers to all elements that have specific attribute. You can write like this also. Element attribute is equal to value. Now what happens? It will apply. So it refers to element that have attribute matching with given value. Matching with given value. So it refers to element that have attribute matching with given value. So we have attribute and attribute value. You can write in two ways. If you write attribute, wherever that attribute is there, it will apply. But you want the attribute to match with some value, then you have to use equal value. I will show you both points here. Attribute selectors how. So generally, attribute selectors, I will give an example first here. Let me copy this. This is related to buttons. Here I am giving another option for you. See, I am writing some paragraph, para 1. And some paragraph like this. Okay. I am just using para 1, para 2, para 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have some para 8 like this. I am applying here. For third paragraph, there is ID P3. For sixth paragraph, we have ID as P6. Now, what is my intention is, apply colors only for paragraphs that have IDs. ID value may be anything. It doesn't matter. ID value can be anything, but they should have ID. Apply effects to all the paragraphs that have ID. ID value, I don't care. Whether it is having ID or not, important for us. Then how do we write here? We have to write like this. How do we define? Paragraph. For the paragraph, what is the attribute you are looking for? ID. That's it. You can write like this. That means wherever paragraph is having an attribute called ID, there these effects will apply. That means we are having that ID for third and sixth one. You see now P square brace ID. and you can apply color as some red. It will apply only for the paragraph 3rd and 6th. That means it will apply everywhere where ID is present. But it should match with value also. That means only for paragraph 6. Then what I can do? You have to write ID is equal to, what is the value? P6. Then it is going to apply that only for P6. Everywhere where ID is present, I want to apply, then no need of giving the values. Value is required, only you want to give specific value that you can define by using this technique. So that's the reason you can have only attribute, or you can have attribute is equal to value. Here, lot of conditions are there. We have a lot of conditions. Conditions like we have square brace, attribute is equal to value. This is equal to. Equal to means exact match. Equal to means exact match. You have attribute exponent equal value. Exponent equal value. This indicates starts with. We have attribute dollar equal value. This indicates ends with. Dollar indicates ends with. Exact match starts with, ends with. You have some more, right? We'll see. These are the conditions. Let's put these conditions and see here. So we will put the conditions here. In the conditions, see, I'm writing like this. No need of any ID now. Let's add some additional things here. See, first paragraph is having a class effects. Second one, it is having para effects. And we have class effects para. And we have class text effects para something. We have another class as effects para. We have class effects hyphen para. I'm adding lot of criteria here. Class, para, and effects. And here we are having class, so para effects. And here we are having another paragraph. Yeah. Oh. So another paragraph I will give 9. And in this 9 paragraph, I am applying para effects text. Okay. Now you see here, I am applying wherever paragraph is there and whatever class is equal to effects. If class is equal to effects, I will keep color as red. Now tell me for which paragraph it will apply. Equal means exact match. Who is exact match in this 9? First paragraph is exact match. That means you can see it will apply for first only. It will apply only for first paragraph. Anything you can apply. I'm just giving color. Right? Now I'm using exponent equal. This indicates starts with. Now tell me which paragraph will apply. First paragraph, yes or no? Yes, it is starting. Second, no. Third paragraph, yes. Fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9. So what are the paragraphs going to affect? First, third, fifth and sixth, first, third, fifth and sixth, which are starting with, and that's what applying. That's where the colors will apply. That indicates starts with. We can have exact match and we can have starts with. Okay. Now let's go and apply here. Dollar equal. This indicates ends with. Now tell me which paragraph. First paragraph, will it work? First paragraph, will it work? Yes, because it is start and end both, right? It will work for first. Second one, it will work. Yes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes, 8, yes, 9 is not, right? So that means what are the paragraphs? First, second, 7, 8. First, second, 7, 8. Those are the options it will apply. That's where it is going to apply the effects. We have starts with, we have ends with. Now see the interesting point here. We have another option here. Attribute. We can define attribute and pipe equal value. And once see and tell me what is the condition for that actually. I will use pipe equal. I will just use pipe equal. And see, it is going to affect, pipe equal is going to affect for first and sixth. Can you tell the condition why? What is the point? What is speciality about first and sixth? First and sixth. What is the speciality? Anything you can identify? First and sixth, anything? What you identify between first and sixth, any similarity is there? So what is the meaning of pipe is? It will apply if the value is independent, and it will apply if the value is starting with and having a separator hyphen. Separator hyphen, not space again. Because independent means there is this fifth one also, na? But fifth one is separated with space. And you see hyphen means this hyphen is there here also in seventh, na? It will not apply there. That means what is the condition of pipe? So starting with and separated with hyphen. Starting with and separated with hyphen. Only those it will apply. You have another option. You have tilde equal. And you see now tilde equal where it is applying. 1, 5, 8, 9. See the condition for that. What is 1, 5, 8, 9? So that means it may be starting with or ending with or in between. It should be individually defined. That means individual, not connected with hyphens or anything. If it is individual and anywhere, it may start with, it may end with, or it may be in between. In between also coming now. Number 9 is in between. That means it may start with, it may end with, and it may be in between. Anywhere independent. If it is separated with hyphen, then you have to use this pipe. So what is the pipe? So that means this indicates starts with and separated with hyphen. Separated with hyphen. And we have attribute tilde equal value. This is individual. Individual. So you can say with space, any location. That means it can start, it can end, or it can be in between anywhere. So wherever that effects word is there, I want. So it may be starting or ending, or it may be in between, but make sure that it is independent. It is not connected with any other symbols or other words. If it is individual, any location with space, then you go with this, right? These are attribute selectors. These are the conditions we have. This is a simple example for that, for practicing. So if you write different attribute styles, then these are important to use. So this all comes under which category? These we call as attribute selectors. Attribute selectors. So next, another important we have some selectors already we learned. You have another option is so behavioral pseudo classes. Behavioral pseudo classes will be there. Actually, you have like before, you have like after, you have like placeholder, you have like selection. Before, after, placeholder, selection, these are behavioral pseudo classes. So before, after, placeholder, these are also regularly used, so we need to know. You have options like first letter. This already I showed you now. We have like first line. First letter, first line. First letter I showed you drop cap. While working with paragraph, how to display large capital letter I showed you, right? For that we have to use this one. So before, after, placeholder, selection, first letter, first line, these are used to apply. But remember, here we have to define a double colon. Actually, double colon is nothing but representing this colon is actually inheritance. Inheritance. You have a double colon. This indicates inheritance. Inheritance. So with the rules, certain rules will be there. So inheritance is simply inheritance without rules. But this double colon indicates inheritance with rules. Actually, inheritance with rules means if you have learned OOP languages, any object-oriented programming, you have interfaces, you know, classes and interfaces will be there. Class defines the functionality and the interface defines the rules. Usually interfaces are used for configuring the rules for a class. We configure the rules for a class by using interface. So you design a class by implementing the rules. After that, you implement a class and extend that class, right? You can implement interfaces, you can implement classes. Actually, here rules means interface. So it is implementing a class with certain rules. What does rules means? You can't apply everything here. Certain rules are there. Only according to the rules you can apply. That means generally CSS, when you apply effects, we don't have rules. But for these we have rules. That means they will not affect for every element. To apply these effects, a suitable environment must be there. If suitable environment is not there, correct rules are not configured, they will not work. That is important. For example, I told you, suppose I told you about colon hover. Am I right? For which element I can apply this? For which element I can apply this? Which HTML HTML element I can apply. There is no rule, anywhere you can apply. Anywhere you can apply. That means for a button, for a div, for a span, for a heading, for a paragraph, anywhere. For example, now I have placeholder. I am having placeholder where I can apply. Where I can apply. Can I apply for button? That means it has certain rules now. Blindly you can't apply to div, span and say placeholder not working, because it will work only for input and not all inputs. Only certain inputs which allow string inside, like password, like text, like URL, right? Will it work for checkbox, text, radius? No. That means it has certain rules. You can't apply everywhere. That is what actually the behavioral is. So before and after, they are used very much regularly. For example, see, we are creating an unordered list. List item like home, say shopper, shopping, and list item like home. In that list item, we have electronics. In that list item, we have like mobiles. In that list item, we have like some Realme something. So, and we have like some C16 something we defined here. Now, actually, this is a hierarchy. This is a hierarchy. That means in navigation, there is an hierarchy. I am currently watching C16 model of Realme in mobiles, which is in electronics in home of this particular shopping. That is the hierarchical order. Usually what we do is, if you are showing such hierarchy, first unordered list style as none. That means there will be no numbering. After that, I will keep here as display as flex. It will keep what? Side by side. And what we will do is, every list item after every list item, we put content as like this. I will put content as like this. And any symbol character you can use, and it will display like that. That is what actually after indicates. Usually you see when you are doing some transactions, payments, so they will show the steps at the top. That means currently how many steps are there, you are in which step, they will highlight that and display. Such hierarchies we show by using this. In software web designing, this type of arrangement is called as, we generally call this as breadcrumbs. Breadcrumb design. This is called breadcrumb design. We call it as breadcrumb design. In websites, they will ask you that I want like a breadcrumb design for this categories. Breadcrumb design means you need to separate with some symbol. I will show you some interactive breadcrumb designs which you can later design. So actually CSS breadcrumb style, breadcrumb designs, you see, I will go to the images and show you. You can see these are the CSS breadcrumb designs. You see the CSS breadcrumb designs, they look like this. We call them breadcrumb designs. That means they will show how many categories are there, currently in which category you are. You can design like this. Later one example we will create. We can design like this. And here, after every item, there is symbol now. That is what we do by using after. We can use after or we can use before. After or before. That means we can add such breadcrumb designs. Actually, this breadcrumb design. So we can use after or we can use what? Before. Before means it will get before every item. Now, can you tell me how to remove this first symbol? How to remove first symbol? Because first symbol I don't want. How to access the first one? How to access the first list item? Just now you learned to access first list item, we have to use what? First child. First child before. Understood? First child before. Content should be empty. Empty means empty double quotes. And content is empty, so it will not have. If you are using after, then last child after content is empty. We can design like this. You can keep any kind of symbol you want. Suppose I am using like this arrow and you see it will come. We can use some ASCII values for symbols actually. We can define. Initially, I'm just using this. You see that will be displayed. This is a simple concept of before, after. And usually placeholder is applied for any text boxes you are having. Input type is equal to text. It is having placeholder name is name required something. I want to apply some effect to the placeholder in input. In input, whatever placeholder is there, for that I want to apply some effects. Then you have to just use this. So you need to access input and double colon placeholder. And its color is some green or something. You can see it will apply that. We can add such options here. Another important, that is just example of placeholder. You have another option. So we have like first letter, first line already I explained in paragraph. No need to show that. You have some paragraph here. Suppose we have a paragraph, some welcome to HTML, some it is a markup language, something. And we will just put a paragraph and we will put selection and background color yellow. It is nothing but whenever user is selecting something in paragraph, it will apply that. That means it is just used for read accessibility while reading to highlight something. So where their current cursor is present, you can display like this. This is used for selection. This is used for selection. And see now, I am applying font size as 40 for selection. And observe carefully, I am selecting this one. I am selecting this. Is font size changing? That is why we said that it doesn't have all the effects. I told you rules now. Rules means you can add to only specific element with certain type of effects on. All effects will not work. All effects will not work. Suppose I want to apply underline. I will give text decoration as what? Underline. Underline 2 pixel dotted like underline I am giving. And see now I am selecting underline is working. But font size not working. That means underline is working for that. But font size is not working. That means all will not work. Everywhere it will not work. It has certain rules. And that is important. That is what actually the meaning of double colon. This is example for what? Selection. How we can use the selection and define. This all comes under the category of which type of classes? Behavior. First letter, first line already I showed you while learning paragraphs. How to create drop caps I explained. I showed you example on that. So then you can implement them. These are enough for you. All these different types of selectors. Actually, in your daily life as a Java or .NET developer, you will maximum use only ID, type and class. You will maximum use ID, type and class. If you are involved in complete front-end designing, so you are not a Java developer or a .NET, you are involved in complete only front end, then you need to know all these selectors. But if you are involved in only JavaScript, Java, .NET like technologies, and you are using designs, then maximum you will work with type selector, ID selector, and class. Right? Those are all important to understand. This all comes under the category of CSS selectors. Next, important in CSS, we have to learn about CSS colors. What are the CSS colors and how you configure the colors? In CSS colors, already we know colors. In CSS, how do we apply the colors? Actually, we can define a color name. We can define a color shade name. We can define hexadecimal code. You can use RGB method. You can use RGBA method. You can use HSL and you can use HSLA, and you can also use gradient colors. In HTML, you don't have all these. In HTML, only 3 ways you can apply color. One, you can give color name. Another, you can give color shade name, and you can give an hexa code. All those 3 you already learned. Already we discussed the first 3. In HTML, I explained how to give color name, color shade name, and hexa. What is the range of hexa? So syntactically, suppose you have color name. Color name is what? Red. And the same you can apply by using hexa. How you can apply hexa? Hash FF0000, or it is 6-character hexa or 3-character hexa. That means you can apply colon hash F00. It can be 6-character or 3-character. This is the name and hexa. So you can also give the shade name. Shade name you can give as color, some light red, something. You can add the shade name also. Color name, shade name, and hexa. These are the 3 options. Already we know that. And hexa range from 0 to F. Already in HTML, I showed you that. Now, another option is RGB. Red, green, and blue. And here, every color range, so from 0 to 255. You can apply more color shades by using RGB. Hexa you can give 0 to F. 0 to F, you know brightness is increasing now. Similarly here 0 to 255 brightness is increasing. Every color means how many colors you can apply? 3. That means you can define like this. Color is RGB 25500. This will give which color? This will give which color? Red color. Because first value red, second value green, third value blue. Every color you can mix from 0 to 255 range, lot of shades will come. And you have another one. What is another here? RGBA. This also we learned. We designed Netflix na. Red, green, blue, and last value is alpha. And alpha range from how much? 0 to 1. This also we learnt, am I right? So background some color is RGBA. So 0, 0, 0, that is black, 0.5, that is transparency. Alpha is used for setting transparent color. Already we discussed. This we used in Netflix design in the beginning, right? When we created Netflix design, background photo dominates. To overcome that problem, we added a shade and we added a transparent color so that the color will make the image less dominant. Already we used RGBA also, right? So where we used that, so a simple one. So here we are having, here we are having background. Background is in public what? Images, public images. In images, I have some Netflix JPG. You know, this Netflix JPG will put a background like this, huh? How you can make this fit correctly? So for that, we have to put body, background size. Background size is what? Cover. It will fit like this. We don't want to dominate. Then what we will do, here we will put a div and we will put a class called shade. And we will access the shade. Shade background color will be RGBA 000. This is black color. Shade height I will give as 100 viewport height. And you can see shade is like this. I don't want it to dominate. So that means last value alpha 0.5 or 6, and you can see less dominant. The background image, we can see through the color. That's what transparent color is. This we can apply by using RGBA. Already we saw this in Netflix design in the beginning. Now you have another one. We have HSL. Actually, it is hue, saturation and lighting. Hue, saturation and lighting. HSL is hue, saturation and lighting. And it is good for images. When you are applying some effects for images, this HSL will be there. You know, in your mobile's photo editing, you will find saturation, hue. Can you tell what is hue? In a mobile photo editing, you will have ready-made effects like hue, saturation. Have you observed? You know how to use them? No? What is hue value? You purchase 30,000, 40,000 mobile, na? Why? To use all those features, na? Only for calling WhatsApp, then you just need 1,000 rupees mobile enough, right? To utilize all these features. So you don't know to use all these. Yeah? Because in the beginning, while purchasing a mobile, we are excited about features. Everybody says that these so many features are there. After purchasing, you will not use more than 2-3 features, right? Because if you can utilize all those features, it is very great in designs and all. So many things will be there, right? So the point here is, what is hue? Any idea? Hue is actually controlling red, green, blue in a photo. You can increase green shade, red shade, blue shade in a photo using hue. Saturation is gray shade. In a photo, you can increase the gray shade, decrease the gray shade by using saturation. And because if you can control the gray shade in a photo, then you can keep it more clear by controlling the gray shade. Lighting is brightness. You can adjust the brightness. So hue, saturation and lighting. Actually here, usually hue is RGB, red, green, blue. So in a 360 angle, it is RGB in 360 angle. So 0 to 120, it will be red. 0 to 120 degrees, it will be red. And 120 to 240, it will be green. And 240 to 360, it will be blue. It is an angle, 360 degree angle. So hue is a 360 degree angle. Hue, saturation, hue is 360 degree angle. From 0 to 360, the color shade will be changing. So that is saturation is, so saturation is gray shade in color. It is gray shade in color. So it is defined in percent, 0 to 100%. Saturation. Lighting is brightness. Brightness, this is also 0 to 100. That means first value is in degrees and second two values in percent. Hue value you have to mention in degrees and second two values you need to mention in percentage. How much percentage? For example, see now, I will just use some body. All these not required yet. Just I am applying here body, background color. I am applying HSL, hue, saturation and lightness. That is brightness. I will use here hue as 20 degree. Saturation is suppose 50%. Lighting is 50%. That is the color. And you can see 20 degree will look like this. And actually, I will give here 10 degree. Then you can see more redness will come. 0 to 140. Which color will be there? Red. Red shade will be there. Suppose I given as 2 degree. Then it will be more reddish shade inside it. That means it will be red. You are increasing up to here. So 90 degrees. 90 degrees, that means green shade is coming now. So from 9 means from 120. So 150 I am giving like this. Then what happens? Green shade is there. Some from 240 to 360. Which shade will be coming? Blue shade will be coming. That means 280, then blue shade is coming. Right up to 360 degrees, the blue shade will be there. That means the blue will be coming. And very important, brightness is also important. Suppose you given gray shade, you given here 10%, that means you will see more grayness. 0 is dark gray and 100 is light gray. That means you are increasing grayness 2%. That means more grayish will come. So saturation is grayness. Grayness you can increase 40%. You can decrease the gray. You can completely remove the gray by using 100%. Now this is lighting. Lighting is 80%. Then it will be more bright. And lighting I decrease to 4%. It is more dark. That means it will be more dark, more bright like this it will be. You can see that more dark and brightness. Suppose it is 28% lightness, then it will be increasing light. I am using suppose 70% light. That means it will be more bright. And you can add one more extra HSLA. You know the last value now? So alpha 0.6 or something, it will keep it transparent. If there is any background image, so body have background image, then it can apply. It can show. Currently, we don't have any background image. If it is there, you will get transparent. So this is another option. What is it? So syntactically, how you give HSL, suppose 220 degrees and here 50% and 60%. That's how you define the color values. First value will be 0 to 360 degrees. Second value will be 0 to 100. Third value also 0 to 100. Another option is HSLA, hue, saturation, and lighting, and alpha. Background color HSLA, some 60 degree and 20% and 60% and 0.6. You can define in this way. The colors for CSS. So you can define color name, color shade name, hexacode, 3-character hexacode, 6-character hexacode. Another one, you can define RGB, RGBA, HSL, HSLA. Lot of color combinations are there. Gradient colors we can apply, but you can configure with only with background image. Combination of multiple colors actually. It is a of multiple colors. So you have linear gradient, and you have radial gradient. Linear and radial gradient are there. These are the colors. And you can apply only by using color, by using background image, not by using color. So gradient can be only by using this. You cannot apply color gradient. So you have linear gradient. So linear gradient, we have the colors. We cannot apply by using background color. If you want to apply them, we have to use background image. We can have linear gradient. We can use linear gradient. So linear gradient we can apply So linear gradient you can apply or radial gradient you can apply. Linear gradient, actually, you can add any number of colors. Suppose I am adding red and I am adding yellow, means just space. You can see red and yellow linear gradient will be like this. And depends on height now. I will apply the body height because there is no content in body now. Body height as 100 viewport height, then it will be like this. We have gradient colors. We can have multiple colors. Any number of colors you can give. Red, yellow, green. You can add any number of colors, it will come. Linear gradient can have directions also. Directions you can give like at the beginning to, so here we say top right, I am giving. Top right is the gradient, then so to top right, yeah. And you can see it will be like this. To top right, so to top left, and you can see it will be like this. You can add like to right, to top right. I will give just only to right. To right means it will be like this. To right. So we can give like to top right, top bottom left. Like this directions we can give. And remember, this is linear gradient. You can even give the percentage. Percentage means you can define red how much, yellow how much. That means red 40%. You can see red 40% will come. You can increase the percentage of any color inside that shade. Right? You can adjust that 40%, 20%. You can adjust that. You can define any color. So percentage of that color, yellow, you can see it will adjust. All these combinations you can give. This is a linear gradient. Linear gradient syntactically you can define like this. Suppose we have a body, background image, not background color. Linear gradient. And you can apply some red, say some to right, red, green, yellow, something like this. You can apply different directions. You have even percentage of values also. That means you can configure the percentage of values to top right. And red is 20%, 40% like this. Green is 10% like this. You can adjust. You can add combinations here. Actually, same. You can have the same concept. You can have. Instead of linear gradient, you can have radial. Radial gradient. Radial gradient, you can apply multiple colors. Radial gradient will be from center. Linear will be parallelly arranging your contents, diagonally arranging the colors. So, and this is from center, you can apply colors. And remember, I just used for body. You can use for div, table, for any container. Background can be gradient, but not with background color by using background image. Gradients you can apply. These are the options. Now, you see example here. The example I will already show here. See, I will change this. Let me copy this example. Right. I will change this now. Instead of linear gradient, radial gradient. Radial gradient, I given red, so green, yellow, and you can see radial gradient will be like this. Center from outside. I just given only two colors, red and yellow. Then it will display like this. That is a radial gradient. So we have linear and we have radial. These are all the CSS colors. So you can define CSS colors. So finally, what is the summary of this? We have color, shade name, we have 3 characters and 6 characters code. We have RGB method, RGA method, HSLA method. So we have linear gradient. So, and we have radial gradient. All the colors in CSS. So in HTML, you can give only 3, but here you can add a combination of different colors. Right. Next, important in CSS, you have CSS units. You have CSS units. CSS units measurements. How you mention the measurements? All these days you have seen the measurements given in pixels. Pixels or in percent. Actually, CSS units are used to configure the dimensions for element. You can configure the dimensions for element, and important, CSS units are classified into 2 types. You have absolute units and you have relative units. You have absolute and relative units. Absolute units means these will not affect the other elements, but relative units will affect. Relative units means these are going to affect based on the parent. They are not standard. Relative units will be changing according to the parents. I will show that example here. Actually, absolute units. So absolute units are individual. Absolute units are individual and will not affect the child or adjacent. Will not affect the child or adjacent. Usually you have pixels, you have px, we have centimeters, so we have cm, we have inches, IN, we have like millimeters. So like we have points, we have like because PC, these are types of absolute units. And remember, all these units are finally pixels. They are finally pixels. It depends on where you are sitting. Yesterday show you CSS target CSS for paper printing, and when you are targeting CSS on a paper, measurements cannot be pixels because paper measurements usually in inches and centimeters. You have like A4 size paper, am I right? In that case, when you are targeting your presentation and printing on a paper, then better to give measurement units in inches centimeter. If you are presenting on screen, then you can use pixels. Finally, all are converted into pixel only. But you see, suppose I want to move any element large distance. Using centimeters, if I move, it will take time. Using inches, if I move, it will be fast. Right? If you want to move an element slowly, then use very minor units. If you want the element to move fast, that means, for example, I will give here. So current position, something like this. I'm writing some formula like current position plus 10px. What does this mean? From the current position, how many pixels it will move? 10 pixels. If I want to move large distance, then I have to give 500, 400 big value. Instead of that, just give 4 inch. Then it will move more distance with less value. That depends how you want to control. These are very important. Generally, people do CSS, animations, effects and all. For that, different units are required. These are all different CSS units you can apply. So usually when you are presenting on screen, always go with pixels. When you are presenting on paper, you can go with others. Actually, finally, all are converted into pixels. Those calculations you don't need, but I will show you a simple formula here. Means how browser will convert them actually. This is how actually browser converts those options. I will show you how browser is going to convert those units. These are the units actually. Yeah. This is the units, how it can control. These are the CSS units. That is the formula used by a browser to convert every unit into finally how much? Pixels. You have cm, centimeters, mm, millimeters. So we have quarter meters, inches, picas, points and pixels. And see, this is the calculation. That means 1 point means how much? 1 by 70 second of 1 inch. 1 inch means how much? 2.54 centimeters means how many pixels finally? 96. It will calculate everything finally in pixels. That means instead of giving 96 pixels, you can give 1 inch. That depends how you are configuring the units. So technically, this is how a browser calculates everything. Actually, browser internally built with a lot of architecture, right? It is just like some of your physics and chemistry formulas. It uses a lot of scientific equations to handle every operation that you don't need to know. You just need to know the pixels and all. In the background, it uses a lot of calculations because simply a page will not become responsive. We say responsive na? To make the page responsive, lot of calculation need to be required. That means it should identify how much width and height of screen is. It should identify, is it a mobile or a tab? Based on that, it should calculate how much existing width is. In that, it should reduce the width to fit onto that screen. Lot of background mathematics happens. CSS uses lot of calculations in the background. You don't need that. Actually, you see in CSS to define any effects, actually you have a calculation also. Calc allows you to write formulas. By using formulas, you can return a result here. And those formulas not needed for you. That is for people who are involved in designing lengthy graphics with CSS. You know, CSS can be used for designing lot of video games. Online games are designed with a lot of CSS, with a lot of graphics, and for them lot of calculations are required, right? Lot of calculations. We use lengthy formulas also here. That CSS not required for you. Just you need to understand basic, right? This table I will upload. You can go through these units and you can understand that. These are absolute units. What are relative units? Relative units are nothing but relative units are according to parent element and root element. Relative units are according to parent and root element, two important EM and REM. This is element size and root element size. EM and REM are relative units. You call them as relative units. For example, how you give these relative units, I will show you. Suppose relative units are nothing but here we are adding a simple div. In that we have a class container. In this we have some welcome, and in that we have some paragraph. So this is styles, and you see now I am applying here. So dot container, for container font size I am applying 40 pixels is the font size. You see it applies for both of them. I will apply some 60 pixels here. It will apply for both welcome and paragraph. But paragraph must be half the size of its parent. Paragraph must be half the size of its parent. Half the size of its parent means for P, we will apply font size as 30 pixel. Am I right? That means it is half the size now. So that means it should be equal. Equal means how much? 60. That means it will be equal. So it should be half. That means 30. Now what point is, suppose I am decreasing this to 30, parent to 30. Now this should be reduced to 15. Currently it will not, because it is using absolute units. When it is using absolute units, it will stay 30 only. But now we will do one thing. We will put here 60 pixels. After that, what we will do is, here we will mention 1 EM. 1 EM means 100% of the parent. 100% of parent means parent is how much? 60. 100% of parent means 60. That means it will be 60. Both are same size, na? I want half the size of parent. That means 0.5. That means half the size of parent. And observe carefully now. If I change this to some 30, if I change that to 30, then automatically the paragraph also changes. That means you don't need to change paragraph now. We want to control the child elements according to this. Suppose I want paragraph double the parent, then how? 2 EM. That means it will be double the size. I want just only equal the size. I want to give some 0.6 of the size. It will be like this. And remember, for example, outside I am having some sentence like web design. And this is outside the container. This is actual body. I want this child not to work with regard to a parent. I want it to work with regard to root of that parent, not to the parent, root of the parent. Then what we can do is, we can just define REM. REM means root element. Root element is what? Body. That means I will give 1 REM. That means equal to the root element size. not the parent element. Parent means we have to give what? EM. EM means the parent size, parent element. REM means root element. I want half 1.5 of root element. That means little larger element. You can control parent or root. For that, you have these two units. You need to define these units. So this is very important. These are really important. So we have to define some container. So font size is suppose some 30 pixel, and the paragraph, some font size is some 0.4 EM. Like this. We can define the element size. So that is how we can configure the units. So finally, in CSS, you learned about integrating CSS. You learned about CSS selectors, and you learned about CSS colors, and you learned about CSS units. You also learned about CSS rules. Rules also I told you, na? Rules means if ID and class both are applied, which one will work? If inline and embedded is written, which one will work? Comes under what? Rules. So these are the CSS related. One more option is there, inheritance. Inheritance. CSS inheritance. That we'll see in next session. Right? Tomorrow we will discuss inheritance and some CSS styles. Styles means already we learned background, borders and all. Extra some styles are there, you should know. Those styles we will discuss in tomorrow. By using them, we can design one simple template like example. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue that. Okay, right.